Great. Kia ora, everyone, and welcome to today's Hawke's Bay Chamber of Commerce webinar, The Hidden Profit in Your Business. Today's session is going to look at how small improvements across your customer journey can create meaningful profit growth. That includes, conversation rates, average sale venue, repeat purchases, referrals, retentions, follow. There's just so much to get through. So we're really pleased that John Hutchinson is going to be leading us through this webinar. He's going to take us through some practical ways businesses can identify where those profits might be hiding, and what steps you can do to strengthen the performance across your customer journey. Before we get started, just a quick note. This session is being recorded, so the recording will be made available afterward for anyone who would want to rewatch it or even share it with others. You're most welcome to do that. And we welcome questions at any time throughout the session, or you can wait until we open it up for questions later on. You could also pop any of your questions into the chat for me to read out if you'd prefer that. So if you prefer not to be recorded, you're welcome to keep your camera and microphone off and place your questions in the chat. And just a quick note that our next Business Insights webinar is already scheduled for the 4th of August, and that's called Better Conversations Build Better Businesses, and that's going to be with Grant and Christine Waddy from Aroha Leadership. So if you're interested in that topic, please jump onto the Chamber website and have a look at it. So thank you again for joining us, and I will hand it over to you, John.
Thanks very much, Jess. Kia ora, folks. Welcome. Thanks for coming along today. I want you to ask yourself this question. What if your next dollar of profit or even your next $100,000 of profit was actually sitting inside your business right now, but you weren't even aware of it? Think of an iceberg. When we think of an iceberg, we understand we've got this piece above the water, and then we've got this big piece under the water that we haven't uncovered. That's what I want to be talking about today. I want to be talking about those opportunities already sitting inside your business today, but we just need to think about it in a slightly different way. And that's the sort of thing that I'm going to test and talk about over the next hour or so. And I think when I use the word profit today, that is interchangeable a tiny bit. So profit might relate to turnover, it might relate to gross profit, it might relate to net profit, it might relate to cash flow, it might relate to opportunity. It doesn't really matter, but the message that I want to get across today is that there's opportunity sitting inside our businesses right now that we can maximize without having to go and chase a whole lot more. And there's three things or three main themes that I want to talk to today, and I want you to really think about. And the first one is, how do we find the value? How do we grow the value? And then more importantly, how do we keep the value? And quite often that profit's sitting in plain sight. That might be customers that haven't purchased from us for a long time. That might be quotes that we haven't followed up. It might be ways that we can improve our pricing. It might be simple efficiencies inside our business. So before we start looking for new customers and spending money on customer acquisition and bringing new people into the business, the question is, what's currently there? And then once we get that, once we find those customers, it's saying, hey, how do we actually grow that value? How do we make sure we're doing a really good job? How do we have a really good customer care program? How do we make sure that we're showing the customers the love that they want to do business with us again and again and again? And then the last part is, how do we keep the value? How do we make them stay as customers longer? How do we make sure that we get their wallet share without them going to spend it with our competitor or with someone else? And so for the businesses that we work with that get those breakthroughs and have the ability to scale, there's not normally one thing. And so as I'm going through today, I want you to think specifically about your business and what you're doing, but it's normally lots of little things that have that flywheel effect that start to give us scale. And so hidden profit normally sits in three places. I'm only going to talk about existing customers today, but profit always sits inside businesses around inefficiencies, rework, pricing's wrong, resources aren't being managed properly, productivity's not being managed. So profit definitely sits in that part of your business, but we're not going to be talking about that. And also profitability normally comes from better decisions. And I've got a saying, better decisions means better profitability. And so be thinking about your business. We're going to talk about existing customers, but just also think about your business practices today as we go through. And also, what is your decision-making process like? As Jess said, she's going to moderate today. fire the questions through to Jess. I won't be looking at them on the screen. Jess, you can butt in at any time if you think there's a question there. We don't need to wait until the end or not. If you need to ask a question, you can raise your hand. Jess is the moderator. And hopefully today, I'm going to go through the information pretty fast. There's quite a bit of information. I do tend to talk fast, but I want to cover off as much as I can to give you the value as we go through. And then I'm going to show you a system, how you can take everything we've covered and implement that in your business, install those processes and systems, and actually get results faster than you might otherwise be able to. And if you stick around to the end of the webinar, I'll talk about the resources we've got for you and how we'll get those to you and what you can do with those as well. So if the three key things are find it, grow it, and keep it, I guess the core message to take away today is that your next dollar of profit is probably already inside your existing customers. These are people that you have relationships with. These are people that trust you. These are people that are happy to do work with you. And so I think the biggest thing comes from looking for those opportunities, because often we're busy being busy, but we're not thinking about those other opportunities and what they look like. So remember, we want to find it, we want to grow it, and we want to keep it. The first part about finding those opportunities is actually looking at our existing customer base and what we're doing with them. And as I go through today, there's a lot of information that I'm going to be throwing out, lots of ideas. I want you to think about your business, and I just want you to jot things down, because the worst thing you could do is sit here at 9 o'clock on a Thursday, watch the webinar, do some emails in the background because no one can see, and not do anything from this. The whole idea for these sort of webinars is we're going to give you a whole lot of information, but information on its own doesn't really help. It's how do you take that information and make a transformation in your business. About Plan A Consulting very quickly. So we've been working with SMB owners for over 15 years now, helping them scale and build their businesses. Ray leads our Business Builder program, which is for businesses that are in those early stages to that 3 to 5 million. And then I work with businesses of larger scale, maybe that 5 to 10 to 20 million. But regardless of where your business is, it's all about how do you scale your business and how do you make your business more profitable. And what I'm going to talk today, it doesn't matter whether you're starting your business today or whether you've been in business for 10 years. These processes and these systems work, and this will increase your average sale for your customers, no doubt about it. Now, as we go through today, we've got a number of polls that we're going to do. So you're not just going to sit there and I'm going to fire information at you. So you can see the poll on the screen, but Jess is going to bring up the poll, and Jess, explain to people how the poll works and just what we do there. Thanks.
Yeah, so as John runs through and tells me which polls he wants, it will take maybe 20 seconds for them to pop up. There, you're not recording the names; it's all anonymous. So please just click on whatever option suits you best. Click submit, and everyone will be able to see the results.
So this poll is just which industry you're in. So construction or trades, professional services, manufacturing, transport, logistics, retail, hospo, healthcare, import, export, or other. And it just gives me a bit of an idea, I suppose, when I'm talking, depending where you sit, as to what you are, so I can personalize it a tiny bit. So Jess, you can tell me when you think everything's done there. So just click on whatever describes you, click the submit button, and then the response will come up.
And you can get, we've got 7 responses at the moment. We've got 14 people in the chat. So
okay, so construction and trades 13%, professional services 63%, and retail and hospo 25%. So that's cool. And then also just to give me an idea about the size of your businesses. So poll number 2, just how many people are in your business. So it might just be you. It might be 2 to 5. It might be 6 to 10. It might be 11 to 20. It might be 20 plus. So again, just click your answer in there. And that way, when I'm talking, if so the majority, 75%, are in that 2 to 5 range. Oh no, that's come back. So 43% in 2 to 5, 14% 6 to 10, 22% 11 to 20, 22% 21 plus. So it varies. So I'll try and, as I'm going through, remember those sort of things, and then just apply some of the information relative to your business. So the first thing, I mentioned before is that hidden profit is usually in plain sight. And I just want to give you some examples. So a trade business I work with, and I'm going to talk about this business later on, but you might be a trade business. And so what are you doing around maintenance plans? What are you doing around repeat servicing for your customers? Are you following up all those quotes that have potentially come in and all those inquiries? When you're on site, are you thinking about what other opportunities? How else can you add value to the customer? And for a lot of people, when they start business, they're very hungry. They get out on what I call hustle. They're always looking for sales and thinking, what can we do next? What's the next opportunity? But sometimes as our business gets bigger, that gets blunted a tiny bit because we're so busy just dealing with the day to day. So I think as I'm going through today, even if you've been around business for a long time, I want you to think about, if I was starting my business today with everything I knew, what would that hunger be? And so, trade businesses, always be thinking, what else can you do when you're working with customers? Professional services, it might be around annual reviews, check sheets for customers, other advisory needs, referral opportunities, retail and hospo. That might be around loyalty programs, add-ons, repeat purchases, triggers. It doesn't really matter what it is, but the idea is to get you thinking about, where is the profit hidden? And it's not normally hard to find. It's simply that we just don't take the time to stop and think where it is and what we can do, because we're so busy just doing the doing. And there's a myth around business, and I think a lot of people believe that to get bigger, to get scale, to have more profitability, we need to be getting more customers in the top of the funnel. And that's partly true, because for any business, there's going to be customer churn, people are going to come and people are going to go. And this information is not saying, hey, we don't need to have a strong message to market, we don't need to be putting our message out there. But I really want us to think that we can be bringing new customers in all the time, but we don't want to bring new customers in to the expense of our existing customers. We don't want to be turning people away because their experience isn't very good and they go somewhere else, so we need to look for someone else. And I'm sure you've heard the same, turnovers for vanity, GPs for sanity, and cash is for reality. You imagine if you can have your business where you're attracting new customers, plus you're retaining your existing customers, plus those existing customers are doing more with you. That gives you more growth, that gives you more scale, that gives you more profitability. So what's the research say? Well, I think with research we need to be a little bit careful. I'm sure we've all heard the saying, there's three kinds of lies: damn lies, and statistics. So take what you will out of these figures. But Harvard Business Research says that 5 to 25 times more to bring a new customer on board than retain a customer. Is that number 100% correct? I don't know, and it doesn't really matter. The point to make, though, and I think if you think about your own business, you'll know this yourself, it's much easier to retain a customer than to go and find a new customer. And if I think I like drinking coffee, if I think about the 3 or 4 cafes that I go to on a regular basis, I go to those places because the service is good, the coffee's good, the people know me. They might not know my name, but they know who I am, by face. They talk to me. I want to go back there. It's much easier for those cafes to retain me as a customer, as opposed to doing poor service, giving me poor coffee. I go somewhere else, and they need to bring people in. So the whole idea today, doesn't matter what the research says, I can tell you that acquisition costs for working with an existing customer is a lot cheaper than having to go and find a new customer. And the key to your business and the key to that profitability is stopping the churn. So think about your business right now. Think about the customers that you're working with. Are there sales leaking from your business? Are customers going to elsewhere to spend that dollar? Are they going to your competitor as opposed to spending that dollar with you? And if so, why? Why are they going somewhere? Quite often people don't even know the services that a full business offers. And the clients I work with, I talk about a product matrix, and if you could imagine, we've got all our services across the top and we've got all our customers down the side. And quite often when you plot that out and you plot the customers aren't actually aware of all the services that you offer. So there's opportunity hidden inside in your business straight away. So be thinking, how do we stop the churn? How do we do more with our customers? Now, later on, I'm going to tell you about a phone call I had a number of years ago with a lady called Kirsty, and why that call for her, she was selling a particular product that I needed, why that call to her was worth over $20,000, but more importantly, what she did from a follow-up perspective. So I'll come to that later on, and I quite often talk about Kirsty from Farmside, so wait for that. Okay, So why does hidden profit get missed? And I'm going to show you later on the calculation for calculating customer lifetime value. But why is it that we miss profit? Well, I think quite often it's because we've been really busy. We're not being strategic. And profit and losing customers leak slowly from our business. Just as businesses that scale don't normally scale overnight, if we're churning customers or leaking customers, that just happens slowly over time. So I think before you go out and market to new customers and spend money on marketing and customer acquisition, and all that is definitely very important. Remember, today we're talking about uncovering hidden profits. But before you go and do that, look inside your business and ask yourself, what is it I can do with my existing customers? And if you run Xero as the general ledger, there's a really good report you can run, which is called Income by Contact. So just go accounting reports, and then down the right-hand side, income by contact, click on the little three dots. That'll give you a report and show you what customers you've worked with over whatever period of time you've selected. And you can see, just looking at that, hey, here's customer ABC. We've worked with them for the last 3 or 4 years, but we haven't worked with them this year. Why is that? So it's just being proactive, thinking about your customers, thinking about where the opportunities may sit. And imagine this. Imagine if you are leaking customers. You just think, if I said to you, hey, listen, those past 50 customers that turned up, just ignore them. Don't worry about them. Give them poor service because we don't care if they come back, or don't follow your quotes up because why would you bother? Don't bother about asking referrals. Don't worry about seeing if we can expand that wallet share. You'd think that was crazy. You'd say, of course I'm going to want to show my customers the love. Of course I'm going to follow the quotes up. Of course I'm going to actually think about how I can bundle other services together. But quite often we don't. We say those things, but I'll chat to a business owner and their CRM process is poor. They don't have a strong follow-up process. They're not returning customer phone calls. They're not replying to emails. So quite often we slowly leak out of the bucket on a day-to-day basis and we're not even aware about it. So today is about awareness, and it's thinking, let's be hungry. Let's just think I'm in business for the first week today. What would I be doing with those customers? You'll be showing all those customers the love. You'll be doing everything you could to maintain that relationship, and that's where hidden profit quite often sits. So here's the first of a real world example. Now, I've got a bit of a disclaimer here because Hawke's Bay is a small place and a number of people know the clients that I work with. So I'm being unintentionally vague when I talk about these businesses, and I've got a couple of case studies. But this is a distribution company. I've worked with them for a number of years now. It will be close to probably 10 years, I'm not sure. They were putting barriers in front of their customers. The user experience wasn't really good for the customer. They could either order online or ring up this particular distributor. There was no real good follow-up process. The customer experience was poor. There was no complementary selling or cross-selling. There was nothing dramatic, but there was just lots of things that weren't being really done effectively. But by taking a step back, looking at the customer journey, understanding what the barriers were, where the opportunities were, they were able to turn things around. And this business grew from, it was probably around about 2 million maybe when I first met them. It's now in excess of $10 million of turnover for where it's at. And a lot of reasons behind that, but what they became very good at is they became very good at working with their customers, showing the customers the love, and enhancing that whole customer journey. And they've been able to build or expand on that average sale every year. And so that means they can attract more customers, but they also get more value out of the existing customers as well. So be thinking about your business, be thinking about what are the barriers that you're potentially putting in front of people, and more importantly, what is it you need to do? Okay, here's the next question. Poll number 3, Jess, the biggest opportunity. Where do you think the biggest opportunity is for you right now? Is it winning more customers? Is it increasing your prices? Is it getting existing customers to buy more? Or is it improving efficiency? So just click one of those. Don't overthink it. Just click on it. We'll give it 60 or seconds to go through. So winning more customers, increasing prices, getting more customers to buy often, or improving efficiencies. And it's pretty evenly split if I just look at those responses. So 50%, 55% are around winning more customers, 9% increasing prices, 27% getting customers to buy more often, and 9% improving efficiencies. And it just shows, doesn't it? It just shows that there is no one answer for any business. It's lots of those different things that we need to be doing. So I want you to think about your business right now. Think about your customers right now, and I want you to have one idea in your mind. So if I said to you, where is profit hiding in your business right now? What comes to mind instantly? Jot that down. Where is profit hiding? And it might be just the things we've talked about. And as I'm talking today and as I'm going through there, I want you to think about that one thing. And then think about, what is it costing you? Whatever that might be. It might be, the customer onboarding process is not very good. It might be that we don't have a follow-up process. We don't have a CRM process. We're not looking at bundling services when we're working with our client. It doesn't matter, but think about that one thing. And then as we're going through today, I want you to apply that to your business and think what the cost for your business might be. Okay, poll number 4. I'm racing through. I told you I was going to race through. And I want to get a few things done. There's 7 polls. This one is around customer lifetime value. And so do you track it? You've got a rough idea what it is. You've heard of it but don't do anything, or you've got no idea. And I'm going to talk about customer lifetime value. I'm going to show you how to track it shortly. And I'm going to show you why it's important to track it and understand. Okay, so 20%, yes, we track it. Fantastic, well done. I've got a rough idea, 10%. I've heard of it but never calculated. That's the majority. It was 40%. It's now down to 33%, and some people don't know. Excellent, well done. Thanks for that. I think the thing as I'm going through, part of the message I want to get across to you is it's all about awareness. It's all about thinking about your business and just being aware. And by having data, I always think data helps with better decisions, and then better decisions, as I said earlier, leads to better profitability. So the whole idea when I'm talking about increasing customer spend, building lifetime value with our customers, it's not about selling people stuff they don't want. We're not a Temu model. We don't want to just sell for the sake of selling. But these are people where trust already exists. They know you, you know them, the relationship is there. And so for a lot of customers, what we do is we put barriers in front of them and we make it hard for them to do business with us. Now, if they know us and if they trust us and they've had a really good experience with us, why would they not want to come back to us? So it's our job to make sure we make that as easy as we can for them. And I'm not talking about pressure selling. I'm not talking about selling them stuff that they don't need. Selling's not bad. We're in business. It doesn't matter what your business is. We need sales in business. That is the reality of how business works. And if you want to scale your business and have your business more profitable, sales is a cornerstone of doing that. And the thing I'm trying to say to you today is think about your existing clients, think about the people that you know, think about the trust you have, and make sure that they don't want to go somewhere else. So what are you doing to show the love? What are you doing to create more value to your customers? Why is it that they want to stay with you? Why would a customer potentially work with you or shop with you or buy from you or visit you one day but go somewhere the next day? Why is that? Is that because we can't offer them what we want? Is that because we don't have the complete solution for them? Is that because perhaps maybe we're no longer relevant to what their needs are? But the longer they stay with you, the better the experience becomes. The better the experience becomes, then the stronger the relationship becomes. So thinking about your customers, thinking about what you're doing, where are the relationships? What's happening? How are you showing the love to your customers? And that's a term that I use with the folks I work with all the time. How do you show the love? So we don't just want to be transactional, bang, bang, see you later. We don't really care what experience was like because we know we've got 10 more people coming in the shop door. It's about how we generally build relationships with our customers and make them want to do business with us. So think about your customer base and think about what you're doing. Okay, poll number 5, Jess. The good thing about the polls, it stops me talking and it means that you've got to stop doing your emails, everyone, and answer. So poll number 5 is customer follow-up. How often do you proactively contact existing customers after they've bought from you? Monthly or more often, every few months, once or twice a year, only when you're selling something or you don't have a regular process. And this is part of that whole showing the love piece. The trade company that I'm going to talk about later on, they have a very good process that once they have come and done the job, and I'll talk about the process later, but there's a good follow-up process to make sure that the experience is good. Was anything could have been done better? And more importantly, asking the question, what else could we potentially do? Okay, so what do we got here? 10% monthly or more often, 27% every few months, 36% once or twice a year, 9% only when we're selling something, and for 18% we don't have a regular process. So I'd really just encourage you to think about what you're doing with your customers, how you keep in touch with them, and how you actually make them feel valued. Because the way that I look at it, for a lot of businesses, times are tough at the moment. We're in a bit of an economic crisis. So we need to make sure that every touch point we have with our customer, they enjoy that, they like that, they feel valued for that. So there's 5 profit drivers when it comes to customer lifetime value: leads, conversion, average sale, number of times someone buys a year, and the number of years that they stay a customer. I want to talk today about the last 3: average sale, purchases per year, and the number of years they stay. Leads and conversions is a slightly different conversation at a later stage. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the power of leverage and what that means. And I just saw something come up in the chat. What was the comment in the chat there, Jess? Let me have a quick look.
Just going back to that poll, we have a comment saying it actually depends on the customer because they
Excellent.
have different categories for their customers.
And that's a really good comment. And I'm going to talk about how all customers are not equal later on. So well done, Rob, for that. I think that's really important. And well done for you for having different customer categories and a system around that. So let's think about the 5 profit drivers. Average sale, the number of times the customer buys with you for the year, and the number of years they stay a customer. So here's a question to ask yourself. What's one customer really worth to your business? Not the first transaction or the second transaction, but over a period of time. Because the total value that a customer contributes to the relationship is the value in your business. If you're coming to sell your business and you've got regular income, you've got annual recurring revenue, you've got revenue locked in, your customer lifetime value is growing, that is very attractive to a prospective purchaser. And that goes to the comment you made before, Rob, that not all customers are equal. A customer that might spend $300 with a business is probably not the same as a customer that spends $300,000 with a business. It doesn't mean that we don't show the love for people. It doesn't mean that we don't treat them all well, but it's understanding the value that brings. And so then that helps you understand where you spend your time from a marketing perspective and a relationship perspective. So let's have a look at customer lifetime value calculation. And this is, I know there's a lot of information on this slide, but just bear with me. And again, think about your particular business. So the first thing is just think about what's your annual income. And in this example, I've used $1 million, divide it by the number of active customers. And how you work out active customers, you might have a CRM, you might have a workflow software. Go to Xero, look at income by contact and see who your active customers are, and simply divide one into another. So in this example, $1 million of turnover, 500 active customers. We know that the average sale per customer is $2,000. That's the first part of the equation. Then go and work out how long your customers stay with you on average. And I did this exercise probably a year or so ago. I think the average time for the people that work with us was around about 7.5 to 8 years. We're not about quick relationships in and out sort of thing. It's about building long-term value, long-term relationships. So estimate how long the average customer stays with you, and then to calculate customer lifetime value, all we do is we take the average sale, and it might be as the customer or for the company overall, and times it by the number of years. So in this example, this customer, although the average sale might be $2,000, over the lifetime, it's worth $10,000 for us. And that then helps us understand where we need to work, what we need to do, where we need to spend our customer acquisition cost. And the point today is that it's all these small pieces on their own don't actually achieve a lot. If you knew what your customer lifetime value was, but you didn't do anything about that, well, that's okay. But if you knew that you weren't showing the customers the love and you didn't do anything about that, that's okay. But over time, these changes compound. And the compounding is either that we leak customers and we leak profitability and we leak cash flow, or retention helps us build profit. And again, the HBR stats, 5% retention can lift profit by 25 to 95%. That is a very big range, 25 to 95%. And who knows what the number is in your business. But again, it doesn't matter. The point is that all these small changes have a compounding effect over time. And so the distribution company that I talked about before, that was around about 2 million and is now 10 plus million, that didn't happen overnight, but that happened with lots of small, deliberate, incremental changes. So what would you think if I said it's easy to increase your customer annual spend by 135%? If I said to you right now, do you know what? I reckon you can increase your customer spend by 135%. You'd probably think I was a bit of a clown. It's like, what are you talking about? How am I going to double the profitability or double the spend from my customer? And this is where the power of compound comes in. And this is where understanding our customer lifetime value and how we calculate that goes directly to results. So let me give some examples. So let's just assume the average sale with our customer is $1,450 and they buy once a year from us. So the average value or the average customer spend that year is $1,450. Let's say the average sale stays the same, but they buy twice a year from us. Well, the average value of that customer is now $2,900. That's not 135% though, is it? I mean, it's 100%, which is cool, but it's not 135%. So let's look at how incremental changes at different stages of those profit levers can have a huge compounding effect. You can see we have average sale, the number of times they buy, and then how much they spend per annum in the 3 columns. So the average sale initially doesn't stay the same, but perhaps we get a little bit smarter. We bundle some services together. We have some cross-selling. We go and ask, do they want that extra cup of coffee? Would they like some dessert? Would they like to think about putting solar on their roof while we're doing a full switchboard upgrade? Have they thought about putting the bathroom in downstairs while we're doing another room upstairs? We increase the average sale. And in this example, you can see I've only increased the average sale across the year by 6.8%. So, we've gone from 1450 to 1525 to 1560. Not huge. The number of times they buy, as a percentage, it's big. They've gone from buying once a year to now buying an average 2.2 times a year for us. So that's 100%, 120% increase, but think about the number, not the percentage. But you can see how the spend with us over the year has increased, because if they were only buying once a year at an average of 1450, then the value for that customer for the year is only 1450. But simply by increasing that average sale, by offering different value, by offering different services, by showing them the love, by getting them to buy from us again, by getting them to come back to us, the number of times they buy has increased. The value now is $3,410 for the year. That's a 135% increase. What's easier? Is it easier to work with your existing customers right now and think, what else can you offer to those other customers, than have lots of customers coming in the door doing one transaction a year and not growing? So this is the power of compounding. Now, this is part of the message I want to get across today. It's lots of these small changes. So if you thought I was a clown saying that you could increase your customer spend by 135%, what would you think if I said I could increase the customer lifetime value by over 1,000%? You'd think I was doubly a clown, wouldn't you? It's like, what are you talking about, man? They're telephone numbers. How could we do that? Again, it's the power of compound, and it's small incremental changes over time can make a huge difference. Think about your business. If we doubled your turnover by 135%, what would that mean? If we increase the lifetime value of the customer, which brings more value to your business, what would that mean? So let's have a look at the math. Again, very similar. This is the same slide as before. Average sale, they buy once a year. The customer lifetime, and they only stay once a year. The customer lifetime value is $1,450. But let's say they buy twice a year from us. So our average sales stayed the same, but they're now buying more frequently from us. And also you retain them as a customer longer. You're not just one and done. You're showing them the love. They're coming back to you. You're their choice of provider. You're the place they go to. You're where they want to buy the goods and services from. You're making it more attractive for them. We have that increase. Now, Going from a customer lifetime value of 1450 to 14,500 is not over 1,000%. That's only 900%. That in itself is pretty good. But again, by the power of compound. So you can see, remember how our average sale increased by 6.8%? The number of times they bought increased. You imagine if we can extend that customer life. We've taken that customer life from 1 year to 5 years to 6 years. And so at year 6, if we've been able to increase the average sale, we've been able to increase the number of times they buy from us, and they stay for 6 years, that customer is now worth $20,460 to us. Compared to if you were one and done and tuning customers through and not showing the love and not having a follow-up process and not returning phone calls and not doing quotes, they would only be worth $1,450. What's easier? Is it easier to work with your customers that trust you, to build the relationship, to become the preferred partner, and to grow that customer lifetime value? Or do you have to go out and find a whole lot of new customers all the time to fill the leaks in the bucket? Well, in my mind, it's definitely a lot easier to grow the customer value. And you can see there's no one answer, but it's those small tweaks. It's that average sale, the number of times they buy, and the number of years that they stay with you. So think about your WOW calculation. I got no idea what your customer database might be or how many people you might have, but let's just say you had 250 customers, or you write down how many customers you think you have. And let's say, for example, you had 250 customers, and whatever your goods and service is, that they'd spend another $400 with you. That's another 100K of income that you've generated straight into your business. That's value that you've created straight away, not by adding more customers or not by bringing people in, but simply by adding value. So think about your customers. Where's your next wow moment going to come from? Remember how I said profits quite often hiding in sight? So think about how many customers are on your database right now and think, man, if that customer spent once more with me, and if my average sale was $100 or $1,000, it doesn't matter, what would that mean? That's your wow moment. That's you trying to understand what it is you can do to increase value. Okay, so poll number 6 is about that. It's about untapped profit and value. So the options are, is it easier finding more customers? Is it easier increasing the value of each sale? Is it getting customers to buy more often? Is it keeping customers for longer? Or maybe you're not sure. Just go and whatever your gut tells you, put a tick in the box and click done for that. Responses just coming in. What are people thinking? So at the moment, 25% increase in the value of each sale. I know, coming in a little bit more now. So for some people, you believe the biggest opportunity is untapped profit is finding more customers. Excellent. And that's what I was saying before. We don't do one to the exclusion of another. We bring more customers in, but we make sure we uncover profit opportunities within the existing people as well. So 23% finding more customers, 23% increasing the value of each sale, 38% getting customers to buy more often, and 15% keeping your customers for longer. So well done for that. So again, I want you to be thinking about your business. I want you to be thinking about those customers that are potentially leaking out the bucket. What is it we can be doing to get them to come and stay with us? How can we become their trusted partner and their preferred partner? Okay, here is another real world example of someone I've worked with for 5 or so years, I'm not sure, 5 or 6 years, a trade related business. And so for this particular business, we focused on a number of small improvements in a whole lot of different ways, but they were able to increase their offer. Previously, it had been very difficult for people to book with them. They weren't very good at returning phone calls. If you've tried to get a plumber, sorry, plumbers, if there's any plumbers on there, I picked plumbers just then out of random, but if you try to get a plumber sometimes to come, it's bloody hard to get someone. The team, when they were rocking up on site, they didn't actually look the best. The service wasn't the best. It just wasn't a great experience. So these folks put a number of steps in place. They made lots of small improvements across their whole customer journey. They found some other services that they could offer to customers that previously they didn't have. That business has grown from around 1.5 million when I first met them to, again, another business that's plus 10 million. by lots of small incremental changes and things that they did, but they've become very deliberate in that whole customer journey and thinking about that customer journey and making sure that if the customer had a problem, that they had the ability to solve it. And that's how their offers increased as well, because initially they were a trade business doing a particular trade, but they were able to other offer things as well, and that increased the pie. So think about your business. What are those small continual improvements that you can do? Okay, so there's 6 ways to increase value. I'm going to go through all 6, and they repeat a tiny bit as to what we've said, but these are the things thinking about your business. So the first thing is around average sale. I just want you to think about your business right now and say, how is it that I can create more value in each transaction? And I'm not just talking about sticking your price up for the sake of sticking your price up, although that's a separate conversation, but you definitely need to have a process in your business around reviewing your prices and passing on price cost increases, but otherwise you're just going to erode margin, but that's a separate conversation. But think about your average sale. What is it that you can do? How can you maybe bundle products or services? How can you upsell or cross-sell? How can you make sure that your pricing is exactly on point? Because as you saw from that example, although the average sale only increased by 6.8% from the 1450 to 15 whatever, I can't remember, that along with the number of times they buy, along with the number of times they stay a customer, has a compounding effect. And remember, every sale that you make turns into cash, assuming that you collect your money and you have a good receivables process. And so cash relieves stress, cash gives you options, and it all starts with thinking about your average sale. So what can you do to create more value in the transactions that you're doing with people? The next thing is to think about, that second lever is how can you increase the purchase frequency? How can you get people to do business with you more often? How can you actually get customers to buy from you more than once or twice? And again, in that example, we went from buying once to 2.2 times a year. Not a huge increase, but the value of that customer lifetime, or the customer lifetime value, was over 1,000%. So what is it that you can do to get customers to buy from you perhaps once more through this year? It might be staying in regular contact with them. It might be having EDMs going out on a regular basis. It might be introducing maintenance plans, SLAs. It might be giving customers a reason to come back, thinking about the problems that they've got, thinking about them. But what is it that you can do to increase that purchase frequency? Because we've seen, if you increase the average sale and you increase the purchase frequency, it has a compounding effect. And this is where these small opportunities are hiding within our business. Now, some of you might be sitting there thinking, nah, don't think we can do that. I don't think there's any opportunity there. And there may not be. But I would really challenge you to think about that and take a step back and ask the question, not so much framing it as a statement, because a statement closes the mind, but ask yourself a question, because a question opens the mind. How is it that we can increase customer purchase frequency? How is it we can increase average sale? And actually just take time to stop and think about that and what that might look for your business. The next thing to think about is how can you keep your customers for longer? How can you make sure that you are the first choice, that they are coming to you when they want to buy something or do something? They're not going to go to your competitor. They're not going to go somewhere else, that they just think about you. And part of that may be that you need to actually let them know the services that you offer, and that's that product matrix that I talked about before. But making sure you've got a good follow-up post-sale. Make sure you're solving their problems quickly. Building loyalty. Asking them, don't be scared to ask the question, especially if you're in a business-to-business relationship. Don't be scared to ask the question of the customers you work with. Hey, what would it take for you to stay working with us 100% and we get 100% of your wallet share as opposed to going somewhere else? And if you're not doing customer insights with your customers and with your key providers and your key partners, I'd really encourage you to do that. I'm doing some of those for a large organization at the moment. And we're talking to the customers to understand how that customer journey was, but more importantly, why they would not want to come back and do business with this particular business. So what is it that you can do that makes you that first choice? How do you get 100% of that wallet share? Because everything has a compounding value to it. The next one is around follow-up. Think about what is your follow-up process, not just a follow-up from an existing sale or an existing transaction, but what are you doing around old customers? How are you contacting old customers, especially in that business to business place? Obviously, understanding if you're in retail or hospital or something like that, then it's a little bit different. But how are you contacting old customers? How are you revisiting those outstanding quotes? I was chatting to someone recently and they were very good at generating leads coming into their business and even getting quotes out the door. They were absolutely useless at following up all the quotes. And I said to them, look, you might as well just put a close sign on the front door. Don't even send a quote out, because if you're not going to follow it up, then one, you're not going to get the business, but two, the person's going to think these guys don't really care about me. Or if you send a customer sends an inquiry, but you don't get back to them for 2 or 3 weeks because you're busy, and I get that, but what does that say to the customer? That says to the customer, hey, these guys don't really value me. I'm making an inquiry to buy something, but they're not even coming back to me straight away. So just contact your old customers. Make sure you follow up those quotes. Ask for referrals. Ask for feedback. Stay top of mind. So just thinking about your customers right now, if I said, are there any customers that you haven't spoken to recently that maybe you need to speak to? Who would that be? And then more importantly, what do you need to do about that? So a number of years ago, we lived in the country. And so this is way before Starlink or anything like that. I'm talking probably around about 2006, 2007. And I don't know if you remember, internet in those days was the old dial-up, so that wasn't very good. And where we lived, we were too far away from the exchange, even for copper dial-up systems. And there was a company called Farmside, and Farmside had a satellite service at that stage. So think of Starlink, but back 20 years ago. And so I was interested because we didn't have good internet, or we had no internet at home. So I made an inquiry, and Kirsty from Farmside, and I still remember Kirsty's name, Kirsty from Farmside contacted me, sent me some information. Now, the challenge that she had is that she sent me a form to fill out. And if you know me, I hate filling forms out. I just detest forms completely. And so I never filled the form out. I never got back to them. I still needed to get that satellite internet. And once a month, Kirsty, well, initially a little bit sooner than that, for the first few weeks, Kirsty would ring once a week, touch bases. Sometimes I'd answer, sometimes I wouldn't answer. Um, I'd see it was here. I had a number in my phone. At other times, I say, Kirsty, I haven't forgotten about you. I just need to get that form in place. I need to get that sorted. But here's the thing, and this has always stuck with me, and I tell the story many times. She never, ever forgot about me as a customer. And quite often I'll talk to people and they go, oh no, that lead's dead. I've rung them 2 or 3 times and I've sent them 15 emails and they haven't replied. So that must mean they're not interested. And the lesson that I learned from Kirsty is that no is never a no until the customer says no. Now, you don't want to be pestering people. You don't want to be that person that's, banging on their door every 5 minutes. But Kirsty just kept in touch with me. Now, here's the thing. The cost of internet or satellite at that stage was $360 a month, which seems bloody ludicrous when you think about it now. So I was going to pay $360 a month. Kirsty did not give up on me. That was $4,320 a year. And I think I stayed a customer with them for about 5 years before the internet approved and I think, moved over to Vodafone perhaps, I can't remember. But simply by Kirsty keeping in touch with me, not just thinking, oh, John's not interested in doing this, so I'll just forget about it. Keeping in contact with me, she got that sale. That sale was worth over $21,000 to them. Think about your business. Think about the customers that you've talked to. Think about the people that you keep in touch with. Are there people in your sales pipeline that you go like, they're not interested, I just won't bother following them up? Or it's been too late now, I don't think I'll do that, I'll feel a bit embarrassed about that. There probably is. So, you've probably got lots of Kirsty opportunities sitting inside your business. But the other thing I'd just say is no is never a no until the customer says no. You make sure you control that process. You book the next appointment, but there's value sitting inside your business. Kirsty could have ignored me completely. And imagine if there'd been 100 Johns. That's a lot of money that Farmside would not have been getting. So it's just having a good sales process. Okay. Number 5, removing barriers. Really, really important. Sometimes, either intentionally or unintentionally, we put barriers in front of customers to make it harder for them to do business with us. For Kirsty's situation, she sent me a form. If Kirsty got on the phone with me and said, "Hey, John, I'll fill the form out for you. You just need to have your bank account details and whatever else, and I'll do it for you. And, then we're all done," I would have been a customer a lot sooner. So what are you doing around, around that buying process? How can you make it easy for the customer? How can you respond quickly? How can you make sure that we're not putting unnecessary steps in front of them? And that might be reducing paperwork. It might be application forms. It might be the online system that you've got. If you've got an online store, it just might be the whole checkout system. But just ask yourself, what are we doing to make it harder for customers to buy from me again? Because if you can do that, if you can remove that choke point, the customer stays longer, and we see the compounding effect for customers staying longer. And the last one is to generate more referrals. We do a fantastic job. We give great customer service, and this might be a Kiwi thing, but I think sometimes we're too scared to ask for customer referrals. We don't ask for Google reviews. We don't ask for testimonials. We don't ask customers, "Hey, who else do you know might be interested in doing X, Y, Z?" So if you've got the builder coming in and doing a renovation, is he saying to you, "Listen, we're in the renovation market at the moment. Do you know anyone else that's looking at doing work? Putting a fence up. Do you know anyone else that might want to put a fence up or need some concrete?" Don't be scared to ask for referrals from your business, because what you want to do is you want to take your customers and you want to turn them into advocates. So imagine this. Imagine 12 months from now, you've been able to do lots of these small things in your business. What's the results? You've got better customers, better cash flow, better profitability, less stress. What does that mean to your business? How do you get those wow moments? Because the definition of insanity is we do the same thing over and over and over, and we expect a different result. The people that we work with that can scale their business and grow their business, it's just lots of these small things. How do they find it? How do they grow it? And how do they keep it? It's doing lots of these small incremental improvements that has a longer term value to your business. So I just want you to imagine, if you put lots of these small things we've talked about in place, what that might look like for you. So how much profit do you think is hiding in your business right now? I said at the very beginning, think about where the opportunities are. So based on what I'm talking about, do you think, and I'm not looking for an answer, but this is for you to think about, do you think that there's profit hiding in your business that you could maximize right now? Nothing dramatic. I'm not talking about something that's going to change the world completely, but just lots of small incremental changes. It's that flywheel effect, that the flywheel turns piece by piece by piece. Okay, last poll. What's the biggest barrier to actually implementing this? Because we can have all the ideas, and I'm going to talk about implementation in a minute, but quite often there's barriers. So you might not have enough time. You might not be sure where to start. You might not have the right systems or data. You might not have the right team capability or alignment. There might be some cash flow alignments, or there might be some other reasons. So what do you think's holding you right or stopping you right now from going back and looking at where that hidden profit might sit? So click on whatever you think, click submit. Let's just see where it is. So it'll change around a tiny bit, but we've got 11%, not enough time or capacity, or 18% now. Not sure where to start, 9%. Lack of systems or data, 36%. Team capability or alignment, and that's quite an important one, 36%. And so again, I want you to think about whatever you said was your constraint, whatever is holding you back, what is it that you could do that could change that would give you a different result? So I said at the beginning, this is, in my mind, a working webinar. Hopefully, as I'm talking through, you're thinking about your customers, you're thinking about your opportunities, you're thinking about what you need to do. I just want you to quickly jot down, or even in your mind, think about what are the first 3 actions you need to do tomorrow, not next week, not the following week, not the month after, but what are the things that you need to do tomorrow that can help you build that customer value? What is it you can do that can help you take that customer spend and increase it by 135%? What is it that you can do tomorrow that takes that customer lifetime value and builds that customer lifetime value so that can increase by 1,311%? What is it you need to actually do? And then how are you going to get out and do it? Because here's the thing, information is okay, but information on its own is a waste of time. And I said at the start today that I was going to go through things pretty quickly and show you everything I could around building customer lifetime value and how you could build that into your business. And then I was going to show you a system how you can take that and implement it into your business and get results even faster. And this is the important part because information is simply awareness. And in the digital age we live in now, we can get information from anywhere. It's the implementation piece that gets the results. But here's the thing. A lot of business owners will do a little bit of something and a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of that. There's no consistency. Execution gets diluted because they get busy in different areas, and we don't have that long-term view about our business. So I want you to think about your business because consistent implementation equals transformation. That's how we find it, how we grow it, and how we keep it. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're also building long-term value into your business. You're building more cash flow. You're building turnover, GP dollars, cash flow that turns into dividends, cash flow that might turn into drawings, cash flow that might turn into PAYE. You're building options around your business. So don't just sit here today and think, cool, I've got some really good information. It's how do I actually go and implement that and turn that into the results for my business. And so that's what we do. So at Plan A Consulting, that's exactly what we do. We help people take all these ideas, we help them implement them in their business, we help them scale their business. And you can see from a couple of the results or case studies I've given you that the systems work, but it's those small incremental systems. So I want you to think about your business and think about what you're going to do to actually implement some of the things we've chatted about. Okay, we're just about done before I tell you about the resources I've got for you. Does anyone have any questions? And Jess, I haven't been looking. Do you have any questions there from anyone, Jess, at all?
No, nothing in the chat, but please feel free,
I know it's a
unmute
little bit,
yourself, ask any questions.
I know it's a little bit scary sometimes if you're sitting there, but does anyone have any thoughts or any questions? I'll take that as a quiet no. So I've either given you a whole lot of stuff to think about or I've confused the heck out of you. I'm not quite sure which. So after today, I'm going to send out some resources to you. So you'll get the slides that we've just been going through now. I'm going to send out for you, I'm going to create it. I haven't created it yet, but I'm going to create what I call the Hidden Profit Playbook. So a working document that you can actually go through and do some of these things and take some of the thinking and actually apply that to your business and then hopefully deliver with consistent action. We're going to send you the webinar recording out as well, so you can go back and look at that. And I've also got a hidden profit assessment. You may or may not have taken it, but if you haven't taken it, it's a very simple assessment. It takes 2 to 3 minutes. It's got about 15 or 16 questions to do. It's completely free. It lets you understand where the opportunities are sitting inside your business. But more importantly, it gives you an immediate response coming back with some practical things that you can go and implement. So for staying this long, I really appreciate that. I'll include that in the information that we're going to send out as well. And that's really pretty much it. I'll pass back to Jess in a moment. I'll just say thank you very much for coming. I get it, 9 o'clock on a Thursday. Everyone's busy doing things, so I really appreciate you doing that. I've got other webinars planned for the year. I said to Jess that I'd do 4 with them for the year. We've done one on strategy. We've done this one around uncovering hidden profit. I think the next one is going to be how to scale your business and the practical things that people are doing. Not quite sure when that's going to be, but if you've got value from that, please, love to see you on the next one. And Jess, thank you. Back to you.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Really appreciate you sharing this expertise, and hopefully all of you that joined us got some practical takeaways. If you didn't join the last one that John just mentioned, you can do the rewatch on our website at hbchamber.nz underneath, I think it's underneath business support. There's a link called Business Insights, and that's where we have all of our webinars that we recorded up for rewatch. So thank you so much to everyone that joined us. Hope to see you at the next Business Insights webinar, like I mentioned at the top. But better conversations build better businesses with Grant and Christine Waddy from Aroha Leadership. That's on Tuesday, the 4th of August. That's more of a lunchtime timing, so that's from 11 to 12:15. And yeah, you can find the information about that on the Chamber website as well. So thank you again for joining us, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day.
Thanks very much, everyone. Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you.